Good afternoon and welcome to our Hangout on Air, where we will be discussing communities of practice for CS principals. So we have two moderators of some of the most popular communities for CS principals. We have Andy Kuemmel with us from Madison West High School, and he's the moderator of the AP teacher community. And we have Melissa Rasberry with us from American Institutes for Research. She's a senior education consultant and also leads the CS10K project for the community of practice. So I think what we'll do is jump right in and introduce, or let Andy and Melissa take off with some comments and introduce the communities of practice that they help maintain. We'll have some questions along the way, and just for those who are tuning in from the course, lesson 1.5 will also be dealing with the communities of practice and CS principles. So that's a lesson that also ties to this Hangout on Air. So I'm not sure who wants to start. Andy or Melissa, do you have any preference on your thoughts? I think, Andy, you were talking earlier about maybe going first and having some folks try to sign up.
Sure, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, Jeff. Hi, everybody. My name is Andy Kuemmel, and I teach computer science principles at Madison West High School in Madison, Wisconsin. I think this is my 4th year. And I'm happy that I can talk to you about the teacher community on the College Board website. So, Jeff, if I could ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Have the participants in the course been given a link to that community, or should I try to provide that?
Not yet. So if you can, that's part of our next lesson. So that's actually delayed, but that will be coming up, and this is a great tie-in to that. So if you want to go ahead and give them a link, and whether you want to do a screen share, however you want to introduce that, that'd be great.
Can I put it in the chat box? Would that work in the chat box?
If you put it on the chat box, I'll take it from there.
I'm not sure they can see it, but we can broadcast it out on to back to Piazza.
If this works. All right. Well, every course that's an AP course has a, I'm just going to check and see if that works, has a teacher community. So for instance, AP Calculus, AP US Government, they all have teacher communities that are run off the College Board website. And one of the purposes of having a teacher community is, of course, to have teachers share ideas and best practices and resources. But another reason to have this community is so that participants can get information from the College Board and also official resources from the College Board. And so on the AP teacher community, for instance, we have some resources there for teachers, such as the curriculum framework, which spells out the knowledge that students need to know when they take the AP exam. We have some curriculum modules. We have performance task directions. We have, course and exam description, and course planning and placement guides, and also instructions for teachers who want to go through the course authorization process of 2016. So I think I'm just going to leave it at that for now and see if Melissa can spend some time talking about other great community practice that we have for computer science. So Melissa, did you want to go ahead with that? Thank you, Deepa, for taking care of that for us.
Thank you, Andy, for that great introduction. So as Jeff mentioned earlier, my name is Melissa Rasberry, and I have the great pleasure of working for the American Institutes for Research. Andy and I actually go way, way back. He and I have been doing virtual communities for some time now, so it's great to reconnect with him as well. The American Institutes for Research receive funding from NSF to support the CS10K community. The community was actually started because we wanted a virtual home for those projects across the country that are part of the CS10K initiative. CS meaning computer science, of course, and 10K which was the goal of NSF to get 10,000 high school computer science teachers in 10,000 high schools across the country. And wanting to broaden both the availability of computer science as well as specifically the broadening participation of some of our underrepresented populations. And so AIR was provided the funding support to create the CS10K community and to help to sustain it. And I was just going to share a little bit with you and do a little screen share if we could. So you guys please let me know if we have any issues with this. Let me see just a second here. So with the community, it actually is the home to both the projects that support let's see if I can get this here. Are you able to see my screen? If the others on could verify for me, if you can see the CS10K website. Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Terrific. So the CS10K community, as I said, it supports teachers and projects that are both for the CS Principles course as well as Exploring Computer Science. So if you have colleagues that are teaching ECS, we encourage you to tell them about this site as well. But here we like to have lots of great things. We just actually relaunched the site on May the 12th, so this is a new look and feel if you've been before. But we try to keep our blog updated. We actually are always looking for teachers who are interested in becoming kind of routine bloggers on the site. So if that's something that's interests you, then you can just make sure you can contact me and I'll let you know more about that. And providing some general information as well as a calendar of events and other things, and especially resources. So if the CSP, specifically since that's what's of most importance to you, we have a page that just tells a little bit more about the course, and it links to lots of great resources that are tagged around each of the 7 big ideas as part of the curriculum framework. One of the things that we wanted to make sure to tell you about as well is that we've actually created, as we relaunched the site, something that we call the CSP Open Group. So within this site, there are both the projects that NSF supports with the CS10K funding, as well as groups that any and everyone can create for themselves. And so one of the ones, there's things, and I'll share with you here some of the ones. So there are people that have joined, created ones around accessibility and universal design, about how to make computer science more accessible for individuals with disabilities or other special needs. Some folks have started a group around assessing student work. There's any number of them, and there's not a way that you can click and say, yes, I want to create one myself. You can't do it yourself, but we encourage anyone to do that. So if there is a special area that you're interested in, you could always write us and let us know, and we'd be happy to get that set up for you. But one of the things that we decided is, in addition to having this space that was more for affinity or topical interest groups where people could select things, as well as having private spaces where specific NSF-funded projects could have their private discussions, that there was a desire for people to really use and leverage what technology allows you to do, which is to connect with people from all over, similar to what you guys are doing now with the MOOC. So it's not just people that are down the street or in your district or even within your state. And that's exactly what we intended with the CSP Open Group. This is a space where we're inviting any and everyone who teaches computer science principles or who is interested in doing so in the future to join this group. And we have a number of great discussions. We offer webinars and other activities to take part in, and then anytime we have anything synchronous, we'll provide those asynchronous discussions here as well. And you can see there are members from, if you looked at any of these profiles, there are people from all across the country, and in fact, some folks that are across the world. So this is a space that I encourage you to join. Again, that's a place that we'll be posting lots of great information, being part of terrific discussion threads. You're welcome, any and everyone is welcome to add theirs as well. But it's just a great kind of common place for people to come together and to be able to share ideas and to find resources. So very quickly what I was going to do is just show you how to join the site. Up in the top, very top, there's the two toolbars here, but at the very top you see the button that says Login. So that'll be the space once you get things set up where you go and you log into the site. I'll do that in just a moment. Very quickly I want to show you the one right beside it, which is Join the Site. we ask for some very basic information for you to tell us about yourself to get things set up. And we do have what we call a moderated registration, because we're having a lot of trouble with spammers, even putting some of the spam blockers on there. So we do have a moderated registration, which simply means that you just won't get immediate access. But we say there's typically about a 1 day or less turnaround time. So once we see the notification, we look to make sure it doesn't seem like a spam bot. We get you approved and you're able to join in the site. So it's very quick and easy. You can set up a username, provide us with your email address, a little bit of background information on yourself, accept our terms and conditions of use, which is just basic community guidelines, and then create your account. Once in, you're able to do lots of things like you would expect on a virtual community. You're able to add a picture, you know, to join the groups, as I mentioned, tell us lots about yourself, those sorts of things. So once you're in this, we do have a home page, or sort of like your landing page, where you can find out your activity, see discussions that either you have created or are part of the groups that you're in. You can create journals for yourself personally, or those that you want to share with others, and get access to all of the recent blog posts. So it's just a quick overview. I do encourage you to take part and join the CS10K community. Deepa is one of our community leaders. We're glad to have her part of us, and we're always looking for great teachers to join us in this work and you know, become a strong part of the community. So thank you for this opportunity, Jeff, and I'm of course happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Yeah, so I think some folks are already joining. Someone, I think Martha just joined the College Board, and Pamela's joining some also. So keep on coming in and signing up. So there's one question I would like to ask both Andy and Melissa. So what, in your opinion, would be some characteristics necessary for cultivating a really good community of practice? And from that, what do you think are options that are built into the sites that you moderate that are facilitating that? And can you just describe some, maybe even anecdotes about some things that you've seen within your communities that are really engaging and trying to, you know, starting to build up a community of teachers?
You want to take that first, Andy, or shall I?
Melissa, if you don't mind going first, I'm a little bit lagging right now.
No worries. So as I mentioned before when I was saying I had a prior relationship with Andy, I'm fairly new to AIR. I just started in late August, so I'm not quite going on a year yet. But prior to that, I was at another organization, and I was there for 10.5 years, and in that entire time frame, I was working with teachers in virtual communities. They've come a long way since 2004 when I first started working there, going from sophisticated as a listserv to now having these Drupal platforms, Google Hangouts, all these things that we couldn't imagine. It didn't seem that long ago, but it's come a long, long way since we first started. But I think one of the things that's been consistent throughout my experience with any of them is that a virtual community is really as good as its members. It really is about, like, it's not about us. So AIR was provided the funding to deal with all, you know, the technical infrastructure, to get this site built, to keep it maintained, and to have staff that can help to be there to support. But really, I have to kind of hold Deepa up as one of our, you know, success stories. So I happened to meet Deepa at a meeting, heard great things about her. We started chatting. She and I have had lots of conversations, and she's helped us to organize and lead a number of webinars that we've had this year. That to me is really, that's what the community is all about. So we had these conversations. We talked about what are things that you're interested in, what are the things that you think your colleagues are interested in, and so that's, I mean, to me, that's really what a virtual community is all about. It's not about somebody else dictating, okay, these are the things that are important, so now let's talk about that, because who wants to do that? We want to have it to be something that is organic and it's natural and it can evolve. So I would say for sure kind of a hallmark of any great virtual community is its members. And that's one of the lessons that AIR had learned in this process too, is that we really wanted to turn over some more of the leadership to the members themselves. And so Deepa, as I described, was serving in a role called a rotating facilitator, where it's meant to be something, because we know that teachers are very, very busy folks and often have lots of obligations, but we have these these roles where we work with teachers to say, okay, what's a little mini project you want to work on, whether it's leading a webinar or webinar series or doing some other, like I said earlier, even blogging, and kind of setting up little, small mini projects, so that, there's too rarely do teachers get the opportunity to really explore something in detail that is of their personal interest. I mean, it's great that you are offering this MOOC. How often do teachers have that opportunity? But, it is just so rare, especially for teachers with their own professional development. So a long-winded answer to say the short and all is that the hallmark of any virtual community is really its people. And that's two-sided. We need people to both lead and we need people to participate. So even if folks aren't initially like, I'm ready to jump in and start something, just know that it's okay. You don't have to write the perfect post. If you have a question, ask it, because just as we tell students, more than likely somebody else also has that same question.
Well, I would agree with Melissa, and she did a great job talking about and hopefully encouraging all of you to get involved in your online communities. Certainly this one for this course, and Piazza is a great way to get involved, but also the CS10K community and the AP Computer Science Principles Teacher community. I find that once somebody, takes the time and maybe gets up a little bit of nerve to post something, post a question or an idea, that they always get really good responses, and they're always glad they posted. But it just takes you, as a member of that community, to say, I do have an idea, and I'm not quite sure what all the things are on this site that are going to be helpful to me. It just takes one of you to kind of start that off and spark a really great conversation, or spark a good exchange of ideas that might lead to some new ideas. So I really would encourage all of you to think about going ahead and just making a post and just asking a question. That's always the best way to get things going on any community.
Andy, I think we have a question. While this question is not necessarily related to the community of practice or the community board, I think you would find that this would be a very appropriate question for them. So if you would answer this question that I'm going to read out to you, and with respect to how this kind of information, does this kind of information even show up on your discussion boards? Is this something that you would moderate? So the question is, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate venue to ask, but my question is, do we know if colleges, universities are offering specific course credit for AP-CSP or general CS credit? So are you really, in a way, a virtual face for College Board is probably a question I can get the name in a second, please excuse me. For example, if a student takes CSA exam and gets a 4 or 5, they get specific course credit, in this example, CS 17700 or 17700 at Purdue. If they get a 3, then they get a generic credit, which appears on the transcript. So what is the college course equivalent to CSP? And does the College Board discussion board really, will it serve as the front face end for the College Board AP-CSP? Is, I guess, the question that is being asked by Ron.
I can actually take this one. I think I have some experience on this one. So before CS Principles really started to take off, the universities were attesting to their interest in the course. So there were 100 or so universities that signed up for that. So at my university, I actually teach a CS Principles course, and we teach that mainly to pre-service math education teachers. And we have already discussed what it will mean when AP CS Principles becomes live. So after May 2017, the first exam, we already have a course in place that those coming to my university will get credit for if they have a qualifying score. So I think there's other universities who are also looking at that. So that'll probably take some time, but certainly the universities are aware of that and looking, just like with the CSA, there will be a mapping or some articulation between the College Board and the universities.
Sure, Jeff, if I could add to that, I also teach this equivalent course as an adjunct at the University University of Wisconsin-Madison. And the course that's equivalent to CS Principles is called CS202. And UW-Madison hasn't, the courses haven't filled out their final attestation yet. But for instance, it depends on what the university counts that course for. And Jeff mentioned what they do at Alabama. So at Madison, the equivalent course counts as the beginning of a CS certificate. It's not a major, but it's kind of like a minor. And if students take this course, and they get the AP credit, then that AP credit could go towards one course in certificate. Also, it might be true that if a university counts their equivalent of CS Principles as credit, like they do at Madison, then perhaps a student could for CS Principles, and it might map to a course at the university that would count for quantitative reasoning graduation credits, which is kind of like saying they can take this instead of a math class. A lot of universities are planning on using CS Principles as just Gen Ed credit. It's just a general elective. And that's okay. That's up to the university if they want to do that. There are a small number of universities that I hear talking about perhaps making a course like CS Principles count for the major. That even though it's not object-oriented programming, it's still important information that they want all their majors to have as they enter a CS program. So it really depends on the university, but there are a lot of good options that universities are considering for this CS Principles course.
Melissa, so Camilla just joined the CS10K website. Woohoo, yes?
Yeah.
The question, I guess, is, which I think is a very much up your forte, with the experience of multiple virtual communities and your experience with so many teachers. We teachers really do have a lot. Even in summer, I have not had a moment off. I've been just whining to Jeff. This is the third time today that I've met with Jeff, so that's how busy we get. And then multiple communities. I know I have that challenge. And, do I go into seeing what Andy has posted, or do I go and see what the Piazza discussion forum is saying? And Jeff asked me, did you know I put a new course online? Did you see that? No, Jeff, I haven't yet. And then Melissa says, Deepa, did you see the nice response that Carol Yarborough posted for the webinar? Well, yes, I should. So Pamela's question is so valid, right? How do you keep up with all these online communities? Words of wisdom?
I think that's a very valid question. So some time ago, I read about the term that we're in this attention economy. And I was so struck by that because it's so true. Like, we have so many things trying to pull at our attention, whether it's in our professional lives or in our personal lives. Between, I'm here on a Google Hangout, I've got my phone going off. There's so many things, even in the moment that we can be bombarded by, that it is hard to juggle that. I think my first words of advice would be, don't stress yourself. Truly, don't stress yourself. And as I've mentioned to Jeff, as I've mentioned to Andy, and any other folks that I've talked about in this, since I've been new to AIR and I've been learning about, all the folks that are in the computer science education world and making connections and all of that, one of the things that I've said is that we're not trying to make the CS10K community the only community for computer science teachers. Not at all. We want it to be one of the helpful communities that teachers can go to. But we also understand that there may be other places where people are already comfortable or already have a connection, and so we just encourage people to try it out. And for anybody who has tried to do membership, I've closed my my email, but as soon as we have a moment, because I didn't want all the dings going off, but as soon as we have a moment, I'm going to make sure I get you guys approved in there. But so all of that to say is that I encourage people to sign up, check things out, find where they feel most comfortable. If nothing else, so for example, sign up and make sure that you're receiving the newsletter. So the CS10K community, we send out a monthly e-newsletter. And truly, it's monthly, with the rare exception if there's some other announcement, you might get one other. But at most, in any month, you may have 3, if that, emails. Because I'm with you, I get it that it's hard when you get them like every day or multiple times a day and all of that. And so, at the very least, be connected to the community, see what's going on. There may be a webinar that's coming up that is really of interest to you. Join into that, or see that. But there's so many things out there that I would just say, try not to have the, I'm so overwhelmed that I'm going to completely shut myself out from everything. But try things out, find where you're most comfortable. And it's also one of those things that it may be that depending on where you are, what it is that you're working on, one community may make more sense than others. So obviously, as you're part of this course and being in this MOOC, if Piazza is where all the action is happening, then focus your time there. If things starts to wane and there's less activity after the course is concluded and not as much going on, check out the AP community or check out CS10K. But just don't get so overwhelmed that you shut everything out. Just try some things out. Find where you're most comfortable, and try to stay at least somewhat connected with various options so that you can plug yourself in as you're able. But just don't get discouraged in the process, because we know it's really tough. And like anything, there's the ebb and flows of the years. So totally, it's a great question, Deepa.
Thanks, Melissa. So Martha had another adjoining response to this for Pamela. Yes, you're right. For online communities, it can be very overwhelming. What I have done for each community I've joined, I've turned off or turned down the number of notifications. So what she means is, like Piazza has, I have something that says, every 2 hours I will let you know who all have responded to Piazza. So you don't really want to turn that down and have it just do once a week maybe, right? Or a digest, like the way AP Computer Science, I have a daily digest that comes in. Unless there's a specific item that I want to have received notifications, like I had one for the APCSP open group on the CS10K site. This helps me from being overwhelmed with emails, and I can choose when I want to interact with the community, which is very, very valid. Daniel says that he has watched Mr. Kuemmel teach, and he is awesome. Congratulations, sir. That's great to have such a fabulous public acknowledgement.
Okay, shout out to Dan. I know who you are, Dan. Thank you. I was going to add about certainly reiterating what Martha posted. Good job, Martha. That's a great idea, and that's what I do too. One thing that I like about the CS10K community is that they have a lot of deep information that has been put there by different curricular projects. And so if I am thinking to myself, boy, I really want to know what a certain curricular project is doing and how they're working in CS principles, that's a really good place to go, is the CS10K community. Melissa, would you agree with that? Do a lot of the different projects on the CS10K community have a lot of information up there?
They do, and we're really working to do even more in the future. So one of the things we've talked with your colleagues at the College Board, with Lynn Diaz and others, is and Tejal Shah, is that we know that there are multiple groups that are working on more formalizing CSP curricula into kind of like a standard format, which I know that has been done for other AP courses. And so in the future, this isn't going to happen right away, so it might even take us until this time next year. But one of the things that's on our list is we want to, and we've talked with Lynn and others about how to do this, is to be able to take that curricula and put it on the CS10K website and be able to link it across. So for example, if someone's interested in a specific topic, to be able to find the resources related to that topic across the curricula instead of having to go through each one. So we're doing things like that and really thinking about how we can make things like that easier. We wanted to have it to be a place where it's a great resource repository, but we're also, we don't want to be just that. So we want it to be a place where you can come and find it, but we also hope it'll be a place where people can come and then talk about those resources and emphasize that community aspect as well.
Jeff, you had a question?
Yeah, so one of the things that might be different about the CS Principles communities is the newness of many of the teachers. So if you pick other STEM areas, the teachers coming to those communities may already have even deep content knowledge. And we're seeing that not to be the case in CS principals. So you may have some teachers who are first-time computer science teachers or will be computer science teachers for the first time, mixed in with those who have really deep experience. So I think a really important part of a community of practice is a trusting environment. So how do you build this rapport across people with really different or divergent kind of backgrounds, and how do you keep that trust going and, you know, kind of almost you know, building the collaboration off, you know, turning the different kinds of backgrounds not into something that would be kind of intimidating, but rather something that can be actually embraced. Do you have any thoughts on that, or you know, whether that's happening in your communities yet, or you know, any ways that we might be able to make that happen?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right, and I think that sometimes that, I don't know, I think it can go one of two ways. I think for some people, being in a virtual environment makes trust easier because they're like, I don't know who this person is, and so, you know, I don't have to worry if they're going to talk about me tomorrow or, you know, to others in my district, and so you kind of feel a little bit more, you know, like a risk taker, whereas others see that as like, I don't know who this person is. Why would I ask this question? So it could go both ways. We certainly hope that, you know, and from what I've seen and everything in our community, it is a very, and same true with the AP community, it's very trusting. It's a respectful place where it really is about professionalism and, you know, being able to talk about those issues. I think part of what it is, an example that I can think of is that we had a webinar recently that DEPA helped to organize around the CS Principals Performance Task, just kind of talking about people's experiences and how they've implemented in the classroom. And there were several new teachers, or fairly new teachers, new at least to computer science, that were a part of that. And they got really actively engaged and were really excited to be part of a conversation. And I think it's, you know, at the end of that session, they were like, you know, when is the next one? What are other topics? So we try to be kind of, we try to query people periodically. We try to offer things that are going to meet that wide spectrum so that it's either, if you're brand new, if you're more experienced, you can find something that really works for you or that really helps you regardless of where you are on your learning continuum. So I think, you know, it can be tough meeting all those needs sometimes, but we do try to kind of keep those things in mind as we're getting things organized.
I was going to add that a lot of times teachers of advanced placement courses, this might be their first time teaching an advanced placement course. Mm-hmm. And so they really appreciate posting a question saying, I'm teaching an AP course and this just came up. What should I do? And know that there's other teachers who have experience teaching AP courses who can answer their questions. And it really helps that, I think, for the most part, people on these communities do a really good job of being polite and to the point, and also just dealing with, you know, the question and the issue, and not so much any kind of evaluation of the person. That really helps, and I think for the most part that you'll see a lot of really great community spirit on both of these communities. That goes a long way towards helping people with lots of experience and little experience work well together.
So Margaret was also saying that a problem that she feels about that a lot of the CS topics are covered in CS principles, but there is really not much depth to it. You know, that's what Margaret feels. And another thought that Michelle Roberts is saying is that analytical reasoning. There's been so much of analytical reasoning that's there on CS principles that they were able to get it recognized as a course that fulfills required credits in analytical reasons. That's pretty cool, I think. And it's true. CS principles does definitely offer the analytical reasoning part. I have a question. I struggle to figure out when I should post and when I should not post. For me, I feel that sometimes I engage in a conversation and I get it into a very heated exchange and I go back and forth and back and forth. And sometimes I feel that I'm totally not saying anything at all. And I feel that I'm not balanced Is that an okay thing? Is that okay to just be, you know, heavy and then not just be totally cold? Like sometimes she's hot, sometimes she's cold. She's never read the nice little moderate thing. Is that a common syndrome? Do you see that a lot? Or, you know, I'm some sort of anomaly and I need to fix myself?
I think you're like a lot of folks, Deepa, and that you're too hard on yourself. I mean, I do. I think, I mean, we see this as, and I'm sure Andy feels the same, that this is voluntary. This is something, you know, if you're joining these communities, you're doing it already on your, more than likely on your own time. So we certainly encourage people to participate as much or as little as they're able. And just like, you know, I mean, we try to keep in mind school schedules and calendars and kind of, okay, is this around, you know, this is the beginning of the year, so we know it'll be, you know, a little more hectic, or this is the end of the year and things are wrapping up. But, you know, we still offer things for you, but it is something that, you know, truly feel free to jump in as you're able. Even if you've been quiet for a while, don't feel like, oh, well, I haven't been around, so I can't, you know, I'm not welcome to say anything. I mean, it really is. It's up to you. And, you know, we also realize, we were just having this conversation recently as we're talking about, when you think about a virtual community, we also know that there's a lot of people who come, they read, they see, they access information, but they may never contribute to the conversation, but they're still benefiting from the community. We would certainly love for more people to not just lurk or look around, although that's okay, but we certainly do encourage people and just want to kind of, you know, to re-emphasize with folks or reiterate that you don't have to have, there's no such thing as a perfect post. No one's going to be pulling out their red marker and, you know, fixing your grammar or anything like that. It really isn't about that. It's really about being part of a community. And if you have a question or if you have some feedback, to share that, because really it's not, you know, the community is only as good as and as effective as the people that are part of it.
Maybe I'm making a bad analogy, but I sometimes think online community is a little bit like a popular, successful, everybody was the same character, very interesting show. But entertaining programs on TV have lots of characters, and everyone has their own personality, and it's really what makes the program enjoyable. And I feel the same way about an online community, that we all might get to see different people there who have different points of view, and some people have different ways of responding in the community, and I think that's just great. So I love seeing Deepa and people who are like Deepa or not like Deepa, or like me or not like me, and it's great having a great mixture in an online community, because I sure wouldn't spend much time in an online community if people just simply acted just like me all the time.
That I think is very true, especially both my experience on Piazza for the MOOC, the 2 years that I've done this, as well as when I was on the webinar with Melissa. It was the differences in the kind of people that are there, you know, the variety of backgrounds and the kind of questions that come up. It has definitely broadened my knowledge.
Okay, I think that may be it for the questions. So thanks to those on Piazza who were participating and sending those out. One thing I want to mention just from my perspective of these two communities, not only are there forums and ways for the communities to post and have conversations, but they're also collectors or repositories of great resources. So there's all kinds of lesson plans that are submitted on the CS10K site. We put most of our lesson plans from our project out there, and you know, teachers who are kind of struggling maybe the night before a class and want to have some ideas about what to pick for the next day on a specific big idea of CS principles, you can go and grab one of those lessons and adapt it to your own. And you know, also on the AP teacher community, there are the curriculum modules that we'll be talking about throughout this MOOC, and they're really helpful resources. Andy was an author of one of those, and they're great ways to also get additional insight, and all of the official AP documents are also appearing on that site. So just not the discussion forums, but the collectors of repositories of, often even, teacher created materials. So I don't know, maybe I'll just go around and see if Andy and Melissa have just some final comment to the audience, and we'll thank you all, and we'll wrap this one up.
There's one quick, really fun comment that Michelle Roberts has posted. If it isn't already out there, we need a video of Andy running a quintessential collaborative internet classroom activity. Truly the best in class.
Aww.
Yeah, and Andy actually wrote about that in the curriculum module. So I think that's some of the stuff that Andy has out there, right? Isn't that in there, Andy? Some of the internet parts?
Yeah. There's lots of different classroom activities in the curriculum modules, and those modules are hosted on the AP teacher community. But I think there's also some really good activities on the CS10K website that I've seen teachers put up there on that community as well. And so there's lots of places where you can look for ideas.
Absolutely, and we welcome you guys, so please do. Jeff and Deepa, feel free to share the website information as well as my email if anybody wants to get in touch if they have specific questions that we can answer for them. And I had an email from my colleague Michelle, who's been approving folks in the background, so you all should have access if you've been trying to join.
Excellent. Well, Melissa and Andy, thanks so much for coming and joining us. Deepa, thanks for hosting us again. We have some Hangouts that were under discussion, so please check PIATS and we'll announce those. And we also have one special Hangout coming up on July 16th. So we'll have Jeff Kramer from London coming, so he'll have the distinction of having the Hangout from the longest distance. So he'll be talking about abstraction coming up. It's a very famous paper that a lot of our teachers are reading, and we'll have Jeff come and talk to us on that. So everybody have a good day, and thank you for joining us. And this will be archived out on YouTube if you want to share it with friends who couldn't come with us. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Melissa,